Hello, handler helpers and monster handler David. Is everybody able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hooray! Hello, monster handler David. How are you?
Pretty good Monster Handler Jen. How about you?
Oh, I am just doing fantastically. It's so nice to have you on a handler hangout episode because I don't know if you've ever been on one before.
I have popped into some of the early ones. I think
True.
I stepped in one time when microphones weren't working and then ran away.
Good old technical difficulties.
Exactly.
So we are here for the December 2025 edition of Handler Hangouts, where we're going to do a big old deep dive on Doma and the paranormal. So many mysterious things.
Now, Monster Handler Jen, I thought we were talking about John Edgar Thompson, the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Yes, that's true. We were, because I do know that Monster Handler David loves a good train.
That's just a deep cut for the theory nerds.
I always
But
love
no,
a
no,
deep
no.
cut.
We are definitely here to talk about the Department of Monstrous Anomalies. We're here to talk about paironormals. Maybe there's a connection between the two. We'll find out.
You know, whenever it comes to the Department of Monstrous Anomalies, I really feel like I'm in the dark because there's just so many mysterious things happening all the time.
Yeah, there's like a shadow looming over all of it for the most part.
I know we do have a few questions already thrown up in the chat. The helpers came prepared today. Thank you, everybody. But I
Wow.
is there anything you would like to go through before we hop into those questions, Monster Handler David?
Yeah, it's been a little over a year since Doma made its first appearance. And it's been, I don't know, mysterious. It's been sort of tied to the release of each of the single element paranormals. There's been
Hmm.
a Department of Monstrous Anomalies report coming out with each of them.
No
I know
kidding.
there's a lot of questions as to whether or not those things are connected or not. What's causing what? I'm sure there's some questions around that.
Well,
Um,
I'm sure you're gonna shine a light on all of those questions.
potentially. We had our April Fool's gag this year with Doma Days and the misadventures of Agent Redacted. Um, yeah, it's we had Agent Money uh, in the monster world.
We
Maybe,
sure
maybe
did.
not.
Potentially,
Um,
but possibly.
Finally getting to see some Doma agents in the flesh in our paranormal carnival video. It's been an exciting time for the Department of Monstrous Anomalies, and we really wanted to finally put it all together for you guys, or at least part of it, in what I'd like to consider kind of closing the first chapter of Doma in its relationship to My Singing Monsters in the Monster World. Its first real plot arc kind of has come to a close with the release of Paranormal Carnival. So now's as good a time as any to answer some of your burning questions about it.
We've already got several questions from the handler helpers. Apparently, they've been pre-preparing a Google Doc with questions. So, like, I
Uh-huh.
give you guys an A++ for preparation here.
Absolutely. Mad respect for that.
Would you like to dive in a little bit here?
Sure. Let's start with some of those questions, I guess. Then my good as place as any.
All right. Well, our first question here is, where did the elevator take Agent Redacted in Doma Days? And you know what? This is also a question I've been wondering because it seems very mysterious.
Yeah, a little bit. Doma Days, canonical to the monster timeline, non-canonical, still a question. The elevator, the elevator that Agent Red uh, wandered their way towards in search of lunch, um, is an interesting one. When they originally got into the elevator to head down into the space that they found themselves in. Um, Something that players who got a chance to play Doma Days would notice is that there was a monstrous symbol for the number 0 next to that elevator. Um, in the report at the end of Doma Days, in the subsequent DOMA file that was opened as an addendum at the end of that experience, you may have noticed that the symbol changed and the elevator no longer opened. It changed from a 0 to a 1.
Ooh.
So, at least the way that the department classified it, the elevator itself was the anomaly that they were tracking. Um, the elevator itself
Interesting.
was the strange thing that they had identified and then classified and compartmentalized. Uh, what else do we know about how DOMA classifies anomalies? What other things do they classify as anomalies? Um, all of the classified anomalies that we've seen in other reports kind of have some association with other monsters.
Yes,
Uh,
that's true. I do remember seeing a couple of those case files. There was the one on the beach,
yep.
which was very shocking. I think that one was my favorite one because it seemed really shady, you know?
Yeah, pretty shady. Uh, so I don't know. I could just tell you, or I could leave you all with another question about that elevator. What monsters have uh, let's call it an inventory that wants to be satisfied that maybe would have also been associated with that Doma Days experience? There's a connection to be made there.
I love
I
when you
think you guys
answer
know
a
the answer.
question with a question. Gotta make them think, gotta make them work for it, right?
Yep.
All right. Another question from the chat. Does Doma know of or study any universes besides the monster universe?
So, as far as we know, the agency is one of those has too many hands and too many pies sorts of departments of the government, where the side of Doma that we see is the one that is focused entirely on how they classify monstrous anomalies. Um, we know that the monster world is a part of the multiverse. Um, so yes, by extension, they're definitely looking at other universes besides the monster universe. But I don't know, maybe that means they're just studying other mirror timelines, other dimensions of the monster multiverse, and not the broader theoretical multiverse that we might experience.
Very interesting. And I feel like there's a lot about Doma that you might think that there's more of an answer to it, but sometimes Doma agents seem like they might be a little unintelligent, a little silly, a little silly guys.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at with these overreaching sort of agencies is they might on the surface seem super mysterious or super uh what's the word, like threatening or intimidating, but I don't know, they seem to misinterpret things a lot. They seem to be either completely ignoring things that are right or in front of their faces, or um, drawing conclusions that don't quite fit. So are they incompetent? Are they just like bumbling their way through it? Or are they actually very capable and competent scientists? I think it's a bit of a mix of both.
I would have to agree. It kind of leads in a little bit to our next question, which is has Doma's meddling caused any negative effects in the monster world? So is it their incompetence or are they just kind of poking around in there and has anything bad happened as a result?
So that's uh, that's a question that is assuming an answer to another question. Has Doma's meddling caused any effects in the monster world? Um, in all of the in all of the reports that have come out prior to paranormal releases. So for Harry and as an example, uh, DOMA, around the same time, released the Mobius shawl report on that anomalous object that they had in their possession. And coincidentally, at the same time, Harriet spawned into existence in the monster world from fragments in the sky, essentially, and strands of what could be presumed to be yarn. Um, the thread that I think is connecting those two things is that uh, there seems to be a correlation between the department having a thing or discovering a thing in the world and then acting on it in some way. They're either analyzing it in an interesting way, uh, pointing some really bad speakers at it and making noise, um, doing, in big quotes, analysis on the thing that they don't understand.
I like
The
the in
chick,
quotes analysis.
yeah, the chicken and the egg question is it their analysis that is causing something to happen in the monster world? Or is it the fact that something is happening in the monster world that causes their analysis to pick up on those things? Every time a new paranormal had been discovered or came into being in the monster world, there was some crazy spike in their readings. But was that spike being caused because of what they were doing or because that monster was there? Um, I don't know if we have a I don't know if we have a definitive answer on that. I think that one is a bit of a paradox, which I think is very fitting for how the paranormals work. Uh, yeah, exactly. Paradox, P-A-I. Um,
I like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think Doma would do if they ever got to Taurus?
I think they would be terrified. I don't think they have the slightest idea of what is on the other side. Um, as monster handlers, the monster handlers have the privilege of traversing into the monster world pretty frequently and having, you know, pleasant relationships with the monsters. Uh, we're here to discover and catalog and chronicle all of the new and crazy and cool and musical things in the monster world. Doma um, has no idea what they've found. They have picked up on something out there, and it's their job to do what they feel is like to protect humanity from it. Uh, the Doma Deep Lore folks will know that, sort of all of this for the department started way, 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 way back early in the 20th century, um, because of another big event. You know what? That kind of leads us into one of the next questions about who founded Doma. So let's just skip ahead to that one because we're kind of there already.
All right, let's do it.
Um, so what we know about Doma is that it was founded by kind of a conclave of nations, which was really popular at the time, sort of at the turn of the century. Uh, the world was starting to get globalized. The world was starting to connect with each other. There were world's fairs happening all over the place. So when some massive event happened uh, in the wastes of Tunguska, uh, the world responded, and a group of nations came together, and they said, "Hey, there are other things out there. We need to do something about this. We need to study this." So, uh, was it a single founder? Not really. It was a group of countries coming together to sort of sign on to mutually protect and stand together against what they would perceive as a threat. Now, that wasn't at the time Doma itself. that was just in a court of nations. DOMA itself was founded at the end of the 20th century, somewhere in North America, by some government.
I feel like I'm learning so much. I'm like taking notes over here. I'm like, wow, this goes so much deeper than I ever realized.
You have no idea.
Clearly not. Somebody also wants to know, has Doma ever contained any actual monsters?
That's a good question. So in the reports that we've seen, at least from what we've been able to read, I'd say probably not. I think that they've captured glimpses of things that could be monstrous, but kind of back to what we were saying, Monster Handler Jen, is that they're kind of clueless sometimes, right?
It does
They
seem that
could
way, at least.
they could walk by a monster handler and just be like, yeah, that's just some guy.
They pretty much did in Doma days.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Agent Red just could not get Monster Handler Tyler's name right.
That's right. Poor
Yeah,
Tyler.
poor Tyler. But similarly, there was something roaming free in the basement of Doma headquarters in Doma days. Was that a monster? What was it actually contained?
True. Now that's the real question.
Yeah, was that monster just there, hanging out, or was it something that Doma knew was there?
It's all in the semantics.
Exactly. I think judging by the presence of a very refreshing liquid and a lot of huzzas, whoever was down there was having a great time. And I wouldn't consider them being captured.
No, they seemed like they were all having a great time.
Yeah, I think they were having fun.
So from there, how does Doma stay out of the public eye? This isn't something that, we're seeing reported on the news or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, they do and they don't, right? Uh, their activities, I think, are pretty well contained. But because they're a publicly funded organization, they have to release at least a portion of their information, which is why we get access to the reports that they put out. That's why we kind of know what the structure of their organization is. They they very specifically have an entire division of people dedicated to information control, right? These are the folks that are well connected with, you know, mainstream media, information, security organizations, so that when something happens, these information control agents can show up, tell the news what to say, tell the people in local positions of power how to keep an area clear. So it's pretty well organized, I would say. It runs a bit counter to how janky the rest of their operations are. Their field agents might be a little loose in their methodology, but the containment specialists, the information control folks, they know what they're doing.
Are the information control people, are they the ones that would be like redacting the documents or redacting any of like the things to kind of keep the public in the dark so that they don't get
Exactly.
scared? Like that's kind of their role. Make sure that, they give some truth and they let people know, but maybe they don't want to scare anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the folks that are actually publishing the documents and approving what goes out and how much we get redacted through those things. It's an interesting connection back to the paranormals, though, that how information gets sort of censored through the process, and maybe leads another one of those connecting threads between Doma and the paranormals again. Um, when Paranormal Carnival was discovered in the monster world, and we finally caught a glimpse of the first hybrid paranormals. Um, when we only knew their major forms, a decent amount of their monster bios were redacted until
Right.
their minor forms were discovered. Um, so I think we'll notice that the minor forms of the paranormals didn't the minor forms of the hybrid paranormals didn't get individual DOMA reports for them. Maybe DOMA doesn't even know that they exist. Maybe they don't even know that beyond the original single element paranormals, anything is happening in the monster world anymore. We haven't really heard anything from them since. Uh,
That's true.
but
I never thought about that.
but there's still some lingering connection to that information control in that obscuring, again, a shadow cast over the information itself
Yeah.
um, until someone observes them.
Very interesting. A lot to consider.
Hmm.
Do you think that there are any other groups out there like Doma, or are they kind of their own thing?
Um, no, Monster Handler Jen. What do you think this question is asking? Do you think that like are there other spooky government agencies? Are there other people out there trying to uh, investigate or discover the monster world? What do you think this question is trying to get at?
I think it's asking if there's other groups out there that are also searching for monsters or the existence of some sort of beings outside of our own world. Um, I
Mm,
mean, we know there are other groups out there like Doma,
yep.
other secret government
Sure.
agencies that peruse around and they do their thing, but specifically related to the monsters or the monster world, do you think there are any other groups that know of the existence of the monster world or maybe have theories about the existence of a world beyond our own?
Yeah, yeah, okay. That's kind of where I thought this was going too. I mean, the obvious answer is and the joke answer is yeah, the monster handlers. Because yes, we do. We're kind of like Doma, but good.
Yeah, we're much
Or,
better at our
or
jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the handler helpers, who are constantly theorizing about the monster world and discovering the monster world alongside us. Those are the easy answers of are there other groups like Doma? But are there other shady or nefarious organizations that are trying to discover things about the monster world? I don't know. I haven't seen any yet.
We hope there's not any nefarious groups out there.
Yeah, I mean the monsters just want to sing and have a good time. Leave them alone.
That's right. Why would you want to cover them in darkness? Let's let them,
Exactly.
exist out in the light of the world.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any insight on what the different anomaly classes are or what they mean? I know there's a bunch of different ones.
Yeah. So I I I think y'all have figured this one out. Um, all of the anomaly classes are, well, most of the anomaly classes are all loosely associated with the intensity or frequency or type of sound being made. Whether Doma realizes it or not, all of their analysis is somewhat sonic in nature, because they are discovering things about my singing monsters, and everything, and they're investigating a musical world. They don't know that, but that's kind of how they're making that connection. So, in a stroke of genius, I suppose on the Doma side, they've built their system of classification of anomaly on how loud it is or how weird that sound is, right? Um, so you've got like, forte or fortissimo, in increasing increments of loudness, uh, sort of mixed in there with some of them. You've got, sort of different different styles of sound being made, like da capo being like a revolution or a return or a recitative for a repetition of things. Uh, that in the way that they have analyzed what they're seeing, they're like, yeah, this one is bigger than the other. This one is louder than the other. This one is sort of pizzicato and coming in fits and starts. So they get it, kinda,
Kinda.
um, kinda, or at least they've made an association that thankfully fits.
Thankfully. Whew.
Thankfully.
We've got some live questions here, but before I move on, is there anything else you'd like to add to any of those really big deep dive questions from our very prepared handler helpers?
Indeed. Yeah, hey, I always love seeing how attached the handler helpers get to monster bios, the lore of My Singing Monsters. Uh, the Paironormals specifically have been a real wild tangent in connections between the monster world and potentially the human world. It's been a real experiment with how we approach those things and how they interact with each other. So it's awesome to see so many of you latching on to those things and really appreciating and being curious about them. That's what we're here
Right.
for.
That's right. All right. Well, we've got a nice list of live questions here, and handler helpers, please feel free to throw in any more questions about Doma you may have or the paranormals in general. Um, First one we're going to tackle is from Gast Boy. They want to know, how did the beef between Doma and the monster handler start? If it's really a beef, monster handler David.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a beef, but like I mean we've said in episodes of My Singing Monsters Live that they are somewhat nefarious. I remember Monster Handler Matt specifically mentioning that he was concerned or a little miffed about them messing around in things with the paranormals.
Hmm.
Um, so I think what would you say, Monster Handler Jen, is the monster handler's approach to interacting with the monster world and the monsters? How would you classify our relationship with that and with them?
I would say friendly,
Hmm.
ethical. We want them
Hmm.
to, we want the monsters to exist in their own space without any interference with us. We don't want to interfere with how they live or how they sing their songs or play their instruments. We're kind of just there to observe, hang out, and make sure that they have everything that they need.
Yeah,
And have a
exactly.
little fun with them once in a while.
Right? So yeah, we're the explorers. We're the conservationists. We're there to, you know, see it, let them live, and just observe how fun and musical it is. The department, on the other hand, seems to like want to poke and prod and be more invasive, which is super contrary to our entire philosophy of interacting with the monster world. So if we're gonna have a beef, it's really a philosophical beef. It's like if
True.
you if you want to sing with the monsters, you're welcome to the party. But if you're gonna mess with the monsters, then the handlers are gonna get in your way.
Yeah, you're gonna mess with us.
That's right.
You leave those monsters alone.
That's right.
I love that. We have a really good question here from the Jolly Crafter, Team Fanduel. In Doma days, one researcher spoke of a catastrophic event that could occur if torus activity continued. Do you know anything about this? Because it sounds like a literal second cataclysm, which is, those are some big scary words in there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, who was that? That was Agent Null trying
I
to
believe so.
desperately trying to desperately explain their thesis of collapsing Einstein Rosen Podolsky bridges or something like that. Uh, and how the whatever they were observing seemed to be repeating and collapsing on themselves. Um, Yeah, it sounded bad.
It
It
really
sounded
did. It was a lot of warning bells going off in my head.
yeah, it sounded pretty bad. Look, um, little past our pay grade, I'd say. I think that has something to do with wormholes or, again, multiverses. Uh, but I mean, his theory got immediately dismissed, so it's probably nothing.
Yeah, we're probably fine.
It was
The
probably
only
fine.
one that really knows about multiverses is Bazinga.
That's right.
And, Bazinga seems to be doing pretty okay, opening up portals to different places,
Yeah,
and
shaking away. Bazinga's doing fine.
yeah, I think that the monsters and the human world alike are probably fine.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
wouldn't
Phew.
worry about it.
Labor, one of our wonderful mods, wants to know
Yeah.
what we think would happen if Doma entered the monster world.
I think it depends on the agent.
No kidding.
I think it depends on who goes through that portal. Um, from what we have seen of the agents and what we've read about of the agents in their reports, a lot of them just seem like normal people.
Much like the monster handlers.
Much like the monster handlers. I mean, maybe it's given away too much of the farm at this point, but uh, I think we know of one Doma agent that kind of did enter the monster world, right?
We do.
Yeah, I mean, now that ended in a pretty spectacular fashion. I don't know if that would happen to everybody, but at least for Agent Money, uh, they got to sing.
They
That's
did.
nice.
That's
That's nice.
really nice. And like help form a song right from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
So
that's really
po
nice.
positive experience. Yeah,
Yeah. I do think you're right though. I do think it's going to depend on the agent or on the person. Some and that's just like in the real world, going to new places and doing new things can be scary. Never mind
yeah,
a whole new world with different creatures you've never seen before.
yeah, exactly.
But I can speak from experience as somebody who has visited the monster world many times. The monsters are very welcoming.
Yeah,
So, if you don't want to just join into their song, like that's crazy to me.
exactly.
Number one Bon Appetit fan wants to know why is Doma so bad at finding Monster World stuff while the monster handlers do it by accident consistently?
Yeah, it's again great question. I mean, I wouldn't say that the monster handlers do it by accident. I think that the monster handlers put in some pretty significant work to discover new things in the monster world. Monster
They
handler
didn't
Tyson
just
may,
do this overnight.
yeah, monster handler Tyson here in chat, he might get surprised by new discoveries pretty frequently.
That does
Um,
happen a
but
lot.
I wouldn't really call that an accident. There was some intention there of him being there to look for new stuff, and it just happened to find him before he found it. Uh, Doma, on the other hand, yeah. Um, at least if we're drawing that connection between what they're doing and at least the discovery of the first few paranormals, I think they did a pretty good job of finding a couple of monsters. They just didn't know it.
That's right.
I think the question is why is Doma so bad at realizing what they've got? Um,
Yeah, it seems like they just dismiss things that are actually way bigger than they think they are.
Yeah, it's hey, we're in this forest and there's definitely something here making this sound. Mm, probably swamp gas.
Yeah,
I guess
100%.
we'll just close off this forest forever because it's
Yep,
kind of creepy.
nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
I just wanted to point out a hilarious comment and also some food for thought from user Afton who says anybody here could be a Doma agent getting information, by the way. Do you think there's any shady Doma agents in the chat listening for information right now, David?
You know,
We never know.
you know, to you, Doma agent potentially in the audience right now. Uh, I I'm not really worried because you know what, your track record a little lacking at this point.
Yeah, it's true. They couldn't even, identify a monster if it was standing right in front of them, I don't think sometimes.
Look, Monster Handler Tyson was living like next door to Agent Redacted, and they didn't know anything.
That's
So,
true. To our other moderator, Azurin, hilariously pointed out, like, Doma is sometimes a little dumba, and I have to agree with that.
yep, yep.
We have another question from, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounce this, Yanomra tree. That's how that's pronounced. Has Doma affected the seam of the monster world, since they seem to have a connection with the beyond, and the seam connecting the
Mm.
monster world and the human world? Now we're getting really philosophical in here.
So uh, great pull on your deep My Singing Monsters universe lore in general. So from what we know, from what the monster handlers know, the paranormals themselves, because I'm going to draw this back to the paranormals and not just Doma, uh, don't have any connection to the seam. Um, the seam is sort of that connecting tissue, that bridge between the monster world and the human world. But the paranormals and Doma's activities itself seem to have not affected the seam at all. And there isn't any sort of crossover, cross contamination happening at that specific, spatial spot in the monster world. A little strange, but um, yeah, there seems to be a very distinct disconnection between the seam um, and the monster world itself. Uh, yeah. Now I see the star power pull there as well. That there is a
Ooh.
connection. That there is a connection there between star power production and a connection between the human world and the monster world. Good grab. Um, Perhaps that has something to do with the distinction between how the single element paranormals came into existence and how the hybrid paranormals are coming into existence, and how paranormal carnival itself is a little different than how they were uh, in existence in their magical island homes versus at their proper home on paranormal carnival.
This goes so much deeper than I could have ever imagined.
Indeed.
Um, this tale has renamed Doma from Department of Monstrous Anomaly to Dumb Odd Monster Agents, and I think that's very funny.
Yeah. Look, they're doing their best, but
Lunar Moth wants to know, why does Doma number monstrous anomalies like a certain other anomaly studying group? And I think I know which group they might be talking about here, Monster Handler David. Do you have any theories on that?
uh, purely coincidental.
Yeah.
It like a lot of department related things. There are layers upon layers, like an onion or a parfait. Um,
Like an onion and an ogre?
yeah, like an onion and an ogre. Uh, the numbering of case files might have a meaning. Um, and they might be clues and they might be related to something. They might also just be a number in a system. I don't know what an SCP is. Don't ask me
Me,
about that.
me either. Never heard of it. From Yarn Timpa, who I think is one of our curators, Ghost Timpa.
Hmm.
They want to know, do the paranormal elements act as more as labels, or do they have actual elemental power?
The elements question. The
Ooh.
elements question. So this one, Monster Handler Gen, this is a speculative one. I'm going to throw this one back to you, but I'm going to give you some more context to it. Make it a harder
Oh.
question.
Oh, good. I
Um,
love when the questions get hard.
uh, and you can decide whether there's a real answer to this or not, and then we'll have the handler helpers take us to task if we're wrong. Um, so the debate rages on. Are the seasonals in My Singing Monsters elementals? Right? Is like gobble the elemental of Feastember? Is Yule the element of Festival of Yay? Um, by extension, is control a paranormal element, or is it a label of their elemental power?
It's a great question. It's hard to say because, like with your example of the seasonals, I mean, we haven't really seen seasonal, element sigils anywhere else except for with those seasonals,
Hmm.
right? Although they do exist on other islands, their seasonal sigil or element does not ever go into any other monster except for their own class.
Yep.
So why?
Yep.
That's my question. We need to do more research on this, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think there's an interesting I think there's an interesting line of questioning there as to the nature of um, what an element is versus like the deeper layer of it of like monster genes, and is there a distinction between those things? Uh, so bringing it back to paranormals themselves, uh, so I would say that for the single element paranormals, especially, um, those are their those are their elemental powers. Like Harriet is the control paranormal, as an example, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it the very nature of it and its existence between its major and minor form exudes different types of control or lack of control. Uh, the hybrid paranormals, on the other hand, are a little bit different than how other hybrid monsters work, that in that they have these unique monikers to them, right? Where like Dakktyl is the bombast paranormal.
Yes.
We don't really refer to it as the hoax ruin paranormal, even though that is what it is.
Mhm.
Um, we are really classifying it more by its uh, I don't know, its personality, its flair, its the essence of what it exists. What in hoax and ruin make it bombastic? Well, read its bio for that.
True,
but
true.
um, but yeah, I think it comes back to that question of there's a bit of a difference in how uh, the hybrid paranormals work, how they are classified in monster taxonomy, uh, compared to their earlier monster world discoveries.
A lot of food for thought there. I
Mm,
feel like I need to do some more research the next time I go into the monster world because I want answers to some of these questions.
for sure.
Jolly Lookarina, it's a great name. They would like to know, can minor forms of paranormals exist in the main timeline? I'd find it difficult to believe a major Scallyrags or Owless couldn't become its minor form on will.
Yeah, can the major forms exist in the non-mirror timeline? Interesting.
We haven't seen any evidence to suggest that they can, but they're also such a new class that we don't necessarily know everything yet. We're still conducting our own research.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they don't suffer from the same sort of instability that things like the ethereals do, the the hybrid ethereals and the multi-element ethereals. So at least from that side, that shouldn't be a problem. But I would say that if you've been collecting your major and minor paranormals on Paranormal Carnival, major and minor, and you've been fuging between the two, uh, there is a locked in and inherent link between their existence in both places at the same time,
Yeah.
right? The major form and the minor form exist in the same space in both dimensions, in both timelines. So there's a I don't know, quantum superposition between the two. Maybe it's one monster in two places in two different spots of two universes. If you removed one of them, would the other still exist? Could they both be in the same space? I would wager based on that, probably not. I think that they would have to, by their nature, exist in those two distinct places to balance themselves out as a
This is
pair.
wrinkling my brain, Monster Handler David. I'm drawing like graphs over here and like little representations trying to connect the dots, and oh my
All right.
goodness.
All right, we'll do well, all right. So Jen, you take a piece of paper and
Yes.
instead of drawing a straight line, you fold it in half and poke through.
Whoa. You think we unlocked the secret there?
Yep.
Wubba wants to know, in the Paranormal Carnival trailer, we saw the real life carnival disappear when Paranormal Carnival was created. How is the monster world able to affect the real world in such a way?
Yeah, that carnival is gone now, isn't it?
It's gone and confirmed. It's
Um,
not there anymore.
it's not there anymore. That's kind of concerning. Maybe that's why we haven't heard from Doma in a while. Uh,
True. They all got sucked up into the monster world.
maybe. Hopefully all of those people are having a great time.
They are,
Uh,
obviously. They're hanging out with the monsters if they're there. They're having a great time.
exactly. Um, so that takes us back to that question of uh, and can their actions affect the monster world? And it's again the chicken and the egg question. There were rumblings and things happening in the monster world at the same time that Agent Money spilled their green slushy all over whatever equipment they had, and things went wild, right? So, which one of those things caused it to happen, or was it a confluence of two distinct things in two spaces connected through space and time? Maybe it was both. If we're thinking about
Maybe.
how the paranormals maybe have to exist in those two places at the same time.
Right. Crazy. So many,
Hmm.
so many things I want to research. Super Ultra Mega Very Jolly Souza, excellent name as well, wants to know, what is Dactyl's idea of coping with its pain?
um, Again, Dactyl is the bombast paranormal, right?
That's right.
So Major Dactyl is just popping, locking, and bouncing all over the place, and
That's right.
that is how they can maintain so much stability. They have to. If they stopped, then they would collapse immediately.
It
It
does make
is,
sense. If I
yeah.
exercise too much, which doesn't happen very often, if I don't keep going, I'm gonna collapse and that's gonna be it.
Yes. So it is it's like a hair's thread that is keeping them going. Um, yeah, use it or lose it, right? They're just going constantly.
They
And
are. As Monster Hunter
we
Alley and I like to say, Dactyl slays.
absolutely. Uh,
Slay the
and,
pain
and
away. That's right, Jolly Lookarina.
yeah, so that's really where Dactyl's hoax element comes into play and counterbalances their ruin element. They are an edge away from falling apart at all times, but they believe hard enough that they are killing it, that is
'Cause they
holding them
are.
together, right? It's
Oh, 'cause they are.
yeah, is it a self-imposed delusion? Maybe, but it's working, and it's balancing out their two elements perfectly.
We love Dactyl. Major and
Yes,
minor form.
Dactyl rules.
Tam, who is a self-proclaimed Doma enthusiast, wants to know, seeing what happened to Agent Red, is Doma justified in fearing the monsters?
Uh, I don't know. Is what happened to Agent Red a bad thing? Or-
Yeah, I think that depends on how you perceive it. I don't necessarily think Agent Red was scared. I think they were
yeah.
surprised and probably very confused, but it seemed like it was more of a positive experience than a negative one to
So
me.
I agree. What were the last things that we heard from Agent Red? It was that they were euphoric, and a happy monstering. Now,
Yeah.
if it was something to be afraid of, would you happy monstering Monster Handler Jen?
No.
Exactly.
I absolutely would not. Maybe they're like, wow, this is like the best experience I've ever had, and now we're buddies. We're gonna monster all over the place.
Yep.
All right. From Spike, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that. Since Jerm is the cycle paranormal, if it stays on the major variant of carnival long enough, does it eventually become its minor form because of the element of ruin? That is a
Hmm.
deep question.
Yeah. Good question. uh, Germ Germ is cool. Germ is a very fun one, and its
I
life
love
cycle.
Jerm.
Yeah, it looks major form looks like it's having a great time. Minor form, oof, not so much. It's its life is one of constant change. When
Yes.
when we were when we were discovering this monster and really trying to like nail down its classification, um, what cycles felt like the right one for it, just because it is a constant loop of rebirth and regrowth and new life coming from this one body, uh, which is very gross in the process and super gooey. Um, I I wonder if because of that cycle, that too balances out the major and minor paranormal very well. In that, if the major form was going through its cycle process and was subsumed by one of its whirligigs and became the minor, on the minor side, that one was going through the same but opposite process and becoming the major. And they just rotate between themselves that way in perfect synchronicity.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question that
I
I'm
think
so
it's
glad
very
you
possible.
answered because I was absolutely not gonna be able to answer that. So,
I think it's super possible that that could work that way specifically for Germ because of the way that it lives.
mhm,
Um, I don't know if we'd ever be able to observe that, though, to be fair. We really only see them in their major and minor forms in their respective spaces, but
mhm.
maybe.
That's a good theory, I would say.
Hmm.
Now, Monster Hunter David, I don't want to scare you, but we have a question from somebody named Agent Redacted. I don't know if they're affiliated with Doma in any way, but I will ask their question because it
All
is a
right.
good one. Regarding what happened to Agent Redacted at the end of Doma Dazed, based on a couple lines from the Wubdamon visit and something that was once in your bio, Monster Handler David, I don't think it's too long of a reach to say he was boxed. But will we ever get to learn what that really means? That's a
I
crazy question.
So Agent Redacted, I think we alluded to some of this earlier on today. Um, I don't know. What do you think it means? So it was a question about the elevator that Agent Redacted you yourself got into, uh, and that elevator seemingly had uh, an inventory, maybe that needed to be fulfilled, and upon entering that elevator, it felt fulfilled, um, and then was classified as an anomaly. And we know that Doma kind of classifies what we think are monsters as anomalies. So I don't know. Uh, Draw your own conclusion. That being said, without without going too far down the blabbit hole, uh, some of the things that Agent Redacted saw on the other side in the basement of the Doma headquarters seem to be related to my singing monster's playground,
Yep.
right? And we know that the monsters go to the playground to have fun, and that's been that's been expressed as being inside the Wubbox, right?
Hmm.
Playground takes place inside the Wubbox. So,
Did
eh,
Agent Redacted go to the playground?
I don't know. Is the inside of every Wubbox a playground?
I think that's what we've researched.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm
So,
gonna have to inquire with Monster Handler Matt on this, I believe.
if big hypothetical, if a human agent or human monster handler were to be hypothetically boxed inside a Wubbox, either on purpose or by accident, there's a good chance that you might just be having a great time
Yeah.
in the playground.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Agent Redacted has actually just wrote in the chat that they're gonna have to dig up those sketches they made of Red absolutely fumbling at some of those playground mini games.
That's it.
We have time for maybe one or two more questions.
Sure.
One question from Lego the Guy: has Doma sent you any letters about some of the anomalies surrounding the Big Blue Bubble office?
Um, we'll
As the
take.
person who receives the monster mail,
Yeah,
I have not received any letters from Doma. However, other people in the office do also receive mail, so I can't speak on their behalf.
indeed. Um, I think I can pretty definitively say that the department has no idea that Big Blue Bubble exists.
I think you're right.
I don't think that their uh, purview of knowledge has gotten down into the weeds far enough to appreciate our little studio in London, Ontario. They think that we're inconsequential and probably haven't even noticed us yet.
True. I would have to agree, especially based on how a lot of their research, if we want to call it, has been conducted.
Exactly.
All right, one more quick question here before we wrap up. Why is minor acorina visibly different from its major form? Did it change shape through the course of its inevitable ruin? Another interesting question.
Yeah. As the ruin paranormal, uh, I think that is a pretty solid assumption. In its associated bile, we saw connections to a lighthouse, and we saw that lighthouse uh, encounter some haphazard agents um, who potentially blew it up uh, and got in a lot of trouble for it. Um, but yes, the ruin element is about the passage of time, about decay and collapse. Uh, I don't know. Minor Ocarina embodies that in, I think, a very physical way. Um, but in the bump and basement music video, where Arcarina was revealed um, to the world, and they went down to the Bone Island Club uh, to have a good time. It was really minor Arcarina that came out of their shell and really started to get down with the other monsters,
Hmm.
whereas Major Ocarina was fairly shy and reserved. So perhaps that ruin element isn't necessarily so much about um, collapse or the uh, deconstruction of things, but more about change.
Hmm. And what a change indeed.
Yeah, it was bump and basement.
I want to go to the bump and basement. They look like they had so
Yeah,
much fun.
absolutely, they did.
So, what I've learned from this, Doma deep dive, paranormal deep dive, is that I want to sneak into Doma HQ and shadow one of them at their jobs, a Doma agent, because I want to see exactly what's going on down there. I want some answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has
Me too.
definitely brightened up my day. I hope it's brightened up yours, Monster Handler David.
Yeah. Whatever shadow was casting a pall over me earlier in the day, it's been a super busy week. We got a lot going on here at BBBHQ. Um, the skies have definitely brightened up, and I'm
Yes.
looking forward to what's coming.
Me as well. So, once again, thank you so much, Handler Helpers, for coming to this so prepared. You had some amazing questions. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to each and every
100%.
one of them, but Monster Handler David, thank you for being able to shine such a light on all of the answers to these questions, at least as best as you could, because I definitely learned something here.
Oh, it's definitely my pleasure, Monster Handler Jen. And I know at the beginning I promised that we were going to be talking about the Pennsylvania Railroad Company. Sorry, we got so caught up talking about paranormals and Doma. I promise for you railway fans out there, next time we will talk about the Union Pacific. We'll talk about the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe railroads. We will talk about uh, Norfolk Southern, whatever. We're here. Yeah, Amtrak content, exactly. We're here for it.
Everybody all aboard the David train, apparently.
Next time.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Monster Handler David, and to all the handler helpers in the chat. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you had a lot of fun too. And Monster Handler David, I think there's only one more thing left for us to say.
I think you're right.
Happy monstering!
Happy monstering.
Bye, everybody!
Bye, everyone.